I had to I had to slap myself because
You are
we're
falling asleep when you are watching the Oscars. I know.
welcome to the Flick Lab. I'm Karri, and he's Henrik.
Yeah, and today is going to be something completely different from the previous episodes.
Well, not really in the sense that we both have a rally accent. We are from Finland, so you have to suffer with that.
Well, yeah, that's true. But our accents, overall accents, and when it comes to pronunciation of the names, it's only a problem when a film podcast does that. If you're a rich asshole who wins like useless awards, then it's completely fine and everybody just loves you for it. It just brings something extra to your charisma or some shit like that.
Yeah, and the challenge of today is to see how the audio is gonna go because, yeah, I have a really, really, really fanatic church right in my backyard. Not in my backyard, but definitely on my backyard. They have a lot of this cling clong that you hear during the recordings, and now they're gonna have some, kulkue on the street once again. So enjoy the music.
And the real challenge today, seeing how our podcast started with this theme of you and me fighting during the episodes, when it came to our conflicting ideas about the movies, is to be somehow even more competitive than what Will Smith and Chris Rock were.
Oh, Henrik! Oscars are valid again. Oscars are the top story of the last few weeks, apart from,
Well,
hideous war crimes.
Oscars have always been the top story following the 2 weeks after the Oscars. There's always some fuss that keeps it on headlines, and it never amounts to anything. Like you do you still remember Oscars so white? Hashtag? That was a huge number
Can't say
for
I do.
exactly 2 weeks.
Right.
Or that one time when Travolta mispronounced someone's name. That was like a whole thing for 2 weeks.
What happened here? Why are we talking about the Oscars on the Flick?
I guess we are talking about the Oscars simply out of our goddamn systems.
Well, yeah, amen to that, because I was thinking if we're gonna do any more award ceremonies in the future, I mean, there's a hell of a lot of award ceremonies out there, and they don't have to be Oscars, because I know you like them.
There's better award ceremonies out there. And overall, talking about award ceremonies is kind of a useless business in my opinion. But
Yeah.
Oscars have been, to our listeners who most likely all of you haven't heard what goes on in the background of the podcast, Oscars has always been kind of this looming ghost behind us. Ever since we first year started doing the Flick Lab, the question was arised: should we cover the Oscars? And we were thinking about doing like a live recording, like watching the gala, the whole thing, and just doing on the spot recording of the experience. That was voted down. The next year it creeped back up again, and we kind of gave a leeway. We talked about Parasite, which was Oscar-nominated film last year, and well, the question should we cover the Oscars was brought up even this year, and this year we already did kind of like. Well, this year we covered the nominees for the Best Foreign.
Have I really
So we
bothered
did-
you about the Oscars for 3 years? I didn't even realize.
Yeah. It was a question that kind of came up every time that Oscars were coming. Like, should we cover the Oscars? And each time the answer was no, we should not, because neither one of us really cared enough to do Oscar coverage, and especially like watching the gala for the 4 hours that it lasts.
Yeah. Well, since we now covered all the Best International Feature Film nominees for 2022 in the Oscars, well, we just thought that it would be, an episode to discuss about how we feel. How do we feel about the fact that it went as it went, Henrik? So, no surprises in any way in this Oscar ceremony. So basically, Oscars are giving the main prize now to a film that was for a long time seen to be the winner of the Oscars because it was winning so many awards. But Henrik, it is the Oscar went to Drive My Car. How do you feel? I feel so.
Yeah.
I feel
To
so
be
indifferent.
absolutely honest, that's my opinion about when it came to like who got it. I don't remember what I was banking my money on. It was either Flea or Drive My Car that I suspected that the Academy would
Yeah, Flea.
work. Yeah, I at least I remember that I thought that the Flea was perhaps the most deserving of the award. But I do remember theorizing that Drive My Car is also is a high competitioner because it's kind of a safe movie to award since everybody else has already also awarded it. So you kind of know that if somebody asks why did you give it to this movie, you can just point to all of those other awards and say that because it's a really good film. Ask anybody, and also because there is that art is something self-grandizing masturbation somewhat going on in the undercurrents of Drive My Car, which most certainly is an aspect that appeals to like Hollywood directors and producers.
Yeah. Well, this year's Oscar nominees, I felt that there was a lot of interesting stuff in all of them, but on the whole, there was a lot that I just couldn't go right past, and that's the case for Drive My Car as well. Great cinematography, a lot of great things, great acting, but I was let down in some aspects there. I can understand why it appeals. I also, in many ways, don't understand it. There was no this kind of a ride that would be really obvious for me. Yeah, that's the one that I want to win the Oscars this year. But Flea was kind of the safe choice, I would have to say. Yeah, also. But Drive My Car, I think, because of the industry pressure, is the winner here. Who knows? Could be also that the Ukraine war just didn't quite get there in time. Otherwise, it may have gone to Flea. What do you think?
Possibly, yeah. But I don't really know. When it comes to Oscars and them taking any kind of a political side in anything, it's kind of like a wet rag. I wouldn't count too much into it. It might have garnered some extra points for Flea, perhaps because refugees, but
yeah, Drive My Car was the Japanese contender, as you might know, and Flea was from Denmark, and The Hand of God from Italy came empty-handed here. And well, I was also disappointed on Flea's part that Flea didn't win anything because it was also nominated for the best animated film, animated feature
yeah.
film.
But then again, in best animated, it competed against Encanto. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like the smallest surprise in the history of animated films that Encanto won.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen it myself. Have you?
I haven't watched Encanto, but it's this year's or last year's like hot ticket Disney animated film. And whenever Disney Pixar or whatever the hell land today releases a movie, you know that movie is going to be nominated, and it's pretty safe bet to say that it's going to get the Oscar simply because Disney.
Yeah, we kind of postulated for different reasons that the films might be on the winning list. For Drive My Car, it was the artistic merits, the kind of things that appeal easily for the board. For example, the fact that the beginning credits start at the 40-minute mark, because that's important. For Flea's part, it could have been the refugee crisis. The Hand of God, the easiest one to skip here, and nothing so strong sociopolitically. Lunana, A Yak in the Classroom, had the advantage that it was coming from a small country of Bhutan, who had not competed in the Oscars. Well, it was the first Bhutanese nominee ever in the Oscars. But no, we didn't get this magic story from Hollywood where a small Bhutanese nation would be winning an Oscar just for the fact because their nation is so small. The worst person in the world from Norway. Also, I suppose, in many aspects, very skippable sociopolitically. So it was kind of left at the hands of Drive My Car and Flee at the end of the day. Yeah. Or that would be my take. That would be the easiest ones to pick from the list. It would be interesting to know how many votes might have gone to in the board for these different movies. How does the voting process go in the sense of deciding the ultimate winner there?
I don't know if there actually is any big surprises to be found in that territory either.
Yeah.
It's very much a question like what films do the members of the board actually see the trouble of checking out any given year.
Yeah.
It still is like every film runs at least like 90 minutes. Today, most of them run over 120. So there is, of course, the time question. How many films you actually get the chance to watch? And then there's also like how many films you actually even care to see. So there is kind of a dropout process going on already. Before they even check out the films, there's this natural dropout that happens between the nominees, where movie X, for any reason whatsoever, gets seen by more members of the board than movie Y.
Yeah, for me, I was hoping for Lunana to win this race. I was happy to get Lunana or Flee to be the winner. All in all, I think they were the best films out of the bunch. Lunana being one that I kind of liked the most, if you will. Perhaps when it goes to recommendation side, it could go either to Lunana or Flee. I don't know. What did you feel? What did you enjoy the most out of this?
I don't know. Perhaps Lunana or Drive My Car.
All right, yeah, that's cool because Lunana was made of such basic elements. Like this guy who goes through this transformation process as a teacher in the mountains. Yeah, I mean that transformation process. That there was nothing really groundbreaking story-wise in the film except kind of the setting and the way that the people were directed, and the village itself was an interesting little curiosity. There were other categories as well for international films. There was Best Adapted Screenplay. Drive My Car was nominated. Ryusuke Hamaguchi and Takamasa Oe were nominated for that, but it went to Coda. So it was not any kind of a landslide or very exciting for international feature films this year, I have to say. But hey, let's talk about Will Smith. Goddamn savior of this episode. Will Smith.
I don't know if there's kind of even anything to say about Will Smith even at this point.
Well, there was some smacking in the Oscars. Will Smith gave a slap to the host.
Yeah, and it tells a lot about the award ceremony that's the most interesting thing that happened during it.
Yeah, and Chris Rock, unsurprisingly, did not press any charges, and that was kind of that. But Will Smith also, he resigned from the Academy on April 1st.
Yeah, then it bears to remember that it's not up to Chris Rock really. At the end of the day, choose whether or not is charges being brought up against Will Smith. Most likely they are not, but it still is the district attorney who gets like the final say. Of course, Chris Rock not be willing to press charges is something that naturally affects the district attorney's decision, but he still has the possibility of pressing the charges if he feels like it.
Yeah, so that was the Oscars, Henrik. Fantastic.
That pretty much was the Oscars. It was kind of a went away with a slap.
Well, we also got the 60 Years of Bond little video, 60 Years of Bond celebration video, and I was happy that Timothy Dalton was kind of largely featured in that as well. Yay.
Yeah, did they forget George Lazenby completely?
George Lazenby was in the video, but George Lazenby was not mentioned when the award presentees were there.
Yeah, so kind of a backhanded compliment also.
Yeah, quite sad. Well, there was also the performance of Billie Eilish performing No Time to Die. And even that, I don't think it was her best performance of the song, but it was alright. It was alright. And it was
Then there was also
shorter,
a performance by Beyonce,
which I skipped.
which was built on really nice stage. Had a hell of a lot of green screen. Unfortunately, the ceremony ran out of budget when it came to actually hiring someone to do VFX.
Was that the one that was supposedly taking place outside in a courtyard or something?
Yeah, it was in some type of a parking lot or somewhere. I don't know. I just noticed that everybody is everything is green. Absolutely everything is green. It was more green than bloody Martian in our average 60s like sci-fi film. And they were singing how it feels so good to be alive in a music show that was produced for the gala. That I also saw it necessary to mention the situation in Ukraine. I guess all the Ukrainians were happy to hear it feels so good to be alive. But kudos to Beyonce, kudos to the song Be Alive for quickly recapping the whole plot of the film, so I don't now have to go and see King Richard.
Yeah, it was. Some commentators said that this really was kind of the low point of the Oscars. I don't know about that, but there were a lot of kind of awkward moments and really misplaced humor. And the same lady, I forgot her name, who was saying that she couldn't quite get to the show this one horrid joke because they wouldn't approve of it. But she was somehow able to sneak in this joke about black people being loud. I don't understand that. Maybe I missed something, but I don't know if you checked out around the 4-minute mark when the ceremony just got started. And there's the white girl saying that, yeah, she's there to call the cops when the black people get loud.
It's basically all that what that was. It was kind of a like lukewarm joke on the expense of the Karen stereotype and the black relations, especially through the Karen stereotype.
It sounded really awkward.
Well, but then again, it's a stand-up routine in the Oscars. Like when fucking never has it been somewhat cringeworthy.
It has been extremely more cringeworthy in some years, I give you that much.
I don't know about that. Like every single year when the Oscars come out, every time people say that this was like the worst Oscars in the history of Oscars. It's kind of it's the Oscar cycle. Like 2 weeks before the nominees get like or even let's go even further back. If you're in a small country like Finland, well, and if you manage to get into the shortlist of possible films that may be considered to get nominated for a film, well, that's when the cycle starts for you. When the media goes nuts and he's like, oh yeah, we finally had a chance to win something from the Oscars. And then you hear about that like 2 days and they quite down. Then the nominees get announced, and 2 weeks before that there starts the media buzz. Oh my god, they are like preparing to announce the nominees, and they quite down. And then 2 weeks before the actual ceremony happens, the media buzz gets up once again. It's really lame.
Oh my god.
And kind of pointless.
Oh my god, they're wearing clothes.
And everybody complains how this was the worst ceremony ever. And the Oscars are just losing viewership. And it's more cringeworthy this year than it was the last year. And it quite down. And then it's like silent for the rest of the year. And then the next cycle starts once again. Rinse and repeat.
Even the venue looked, to my eyes, before much bigger. I don't know what happened.
The venue has always sucked. It sucked the last year also when they were all crammed up in some, I don't know, some hotel restaurant.
What happened to that stage that was really, really, really far away and they had to travel for miles before they got to the stage? I like that. Really appreciated the fact that when the winners were able to talk for 2 hours before the next one came on stage. I mean, that's what it's all about, the freaking show anyway. There's nothing else to really salivate on except the speeches. So,
well, but there's nothing to salivate on the speeches either.
No,
it's always, I want to thank the Academy. I want to thank everybody who took part. Or if it's not that speech, then it's something about something that somebody feels is somehow political and topical at the moment. Like,
Yeah.
do you remember last year the whole show about Joker versus Parasite that went on before the Oscars? That was like the last year's great boss.
Yeah.
And
That was 2019, no?
the fuck was the last?
2020. Yeah. 2021, something happened there in between. Never mind.
Never mind. Never mind. It's all blank in my mind these days. I'm already forgetting this year's award ceremony.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about weight gain, Henrik. So in many cultures, it's okay to describe people's appearance in different ways. If you go to Japan, if you go to Korea, they might say, "Oh, what lovely little puffy cheeks you got," and that's okay. Or "Oh, you look like a lamppost." Well, no, not really, but in this year's Academy Awards, there's a mention at 1620 about Jennifer Lawrence, who gained some weight this year. Why? Why do you make the mention? I think this is something that we really don't do in the westernized culture. What about burp sound effects? Do we do that? Apparently we do. At 29 minutes roughly, there's a burp sound effect. That's all I got, guys.
Well, but then again, when it comes to Jennifer Lawrence gaining weight, jokey remark, like, what are you going to say about it?
I don't know. What?
Are you pro or against that comment?
I don't know. I haven't been watching Jennifer Lawrence's pictures.
Yeah, but even if you had, like, who gives a shit?
No one
Really?
gives a-
Or what does the standalone remark even mean in basically anything? Like, you mentioned that it's okay to joke about this or make mentions about people's weight in Japan and in Asian countries. So is that a good or bad thing? Like, do we Westerners have it backwards or forwards?
Oh, I don't know, Henrik. I just find it really awkward that we're talking about any kind of specific body parts and oh, you look like this and look like that. Who cares anyway?
No, I don't know. We have kind of done it always. It's like when it comes to joke material, it's one of the low hanging fruits, which means that of course everybody is going to grab it at some point. Why wouldn't you? One of the easiest jokes you can make.
What
It's
about
in the same territory that, like you may have noticed, every single time, every single year, there's somebody who makes a joke about that film not being seen or that actor not being recommended or accomplished.
yeah?
And ever since, like Me Too, there has always been the token Weinstein joke, as it was also this year.
Oh my
Just
god! So
kind of is there because why wouldn't it be?
all right, so it's a token joke now every year.
I would say yeah, or at least the next 5 or 10 years, it's going to be a token joke.
Henrik,
As long as Harvey Weinstein stays relevant in our memories, there's going to be a token Weinstein joke in some form or the other.
yeah.
Simply because it's kind of like a free joke. You're kind of even dumbass if you don't just make it.
You can just
Somebody has to.
just forget about that guy. Oof. I'm sure the victims are not too interested in hearing about that guy all the time on the TV. Well, Henrik, but let's get to the meat of the whole discussion. Jada Pinkett Smith and lack of hair because of alopecia. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. What about this joke?
Well, it got a half a chuckle out of me.
I don't understand these jokes this year. I don't really watch the full ceremonies anymore for many, many years. But come on, like these are so easy situations to avoid. Why would you escalate? Wow.
Well, but once again, why wouldn't you escalate?
Because that's just wrong. I don't think he knew that she has alopecia. He should know if he's making the joke.
I don't know. I can't really be that pumped about the joke. I thought that it was like a half a chuckle joke.
Anyway, Henry.
It was nothing that really makes me break out laughing, but it was like, yeah, G.I. Jane, that was a film.
That was a film and Jada Pinkett Smith was not even in it.
No, but Demi Moore shaved her head.
Yeah, totally the same thing. A movie from 97. Everybody remembers still. Yeah.
Yeah.
Henrik, I gotta slap myself.
I hope you don't get any sexual pleasure from the act.
No, but do you know why I had to take the pleasure to slap myself? Because what are we doing
Well,
here?
that's just you just admit that you took pleasure.
Oh,
God damn.
no, I no.
They're the people I have to work with.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, and before you ask, yeah, that was King Saban.
I had to I had to slap myself because
You are falling asleep when you are watching the Oscars. I know.
because we're talking about alopecia. We're talking about silly jokes on stage of the Oscar ceremonies. We're talking about Jennifer. What's her name?
Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence and her
Getting
appearance.
weight.
You see how much I seem to be into the American pop culture. Dear listeners,
But then again, like, seriously, a serious question. What the fuck would we be talking about?
I know.
Like the award speeches? They all suck ass.
Any comments about the costume designing for this year's Oscars?
Well, that one lady had a green dress that took up a half a stage.
And that one lady was wearing kind of something that was out of the same cloth. I think it was green, just kind of making these wobbly waves and taking at least 1/3 of the stage.
Yeah, I was just waiting when the VFX finally get added to the picture.
All right. How
But
long?
to be absolutely honest, I didn't even watch the whole ceremony. I just kind of skipped through it, like
Yeah.
jumped from one point to another. Oh god, it's the lame jokes part. Okay, what award is going to be? Okay, it's going to be the best animated. Well, that's going to go to Disney. Skip 2 minutes forward. Okay, it's the thanks speech. What does it say? Something about the industry. Okay, skip to the next award. What's going to be? Oh look, it's the music performance. Is the song good?
And when
Listen to it. 30 seconds. Yeah, this is okay.
And when it came to time, came the unavoidable time to talk about Ukraine for a minute. They even messed up that part, and I couldn't understand what the hell they were even saying about it. Like this, and there's a genocide going on in Ukraine, and all women are losing their rights, and trans people. Huh?
Well, I guess also women and trans people are losing their rights when the genocide is going on. Amongst with absolutely everybody else.
Yeah. I don't know if this was supposed to be related to Ukraine or what, but it was coming like in the same second, in the same sentence. All women are losing their rights and trans people.
I took it like once again. I didn't actually watch the whole speech because I was just jumping all over the recording. But my on the moment take was that it was once again attempt to be super on the nose on what's current in political wise this moment, and just add and cram everything into as small a time as humanly possible. So you get a speech that kind of jumps from one problematic political point to the next. Like you get, oh my god, there's something happening in Ukraine. Oh my god, the women's rights. Oh my god, the recent discourse on the trans rights that is happening.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that George Floyd was not being brought up.
Well, all in all, a lot of burping, a lot of weight, a lot of bizarre comments about war. Actual punching of people or slapping. Take it as you wish.
That still was the most interesting aspect.
Oh yeah.
Of the gala. Even that, it's not really that interesting.
No, and even that was kind of censored on some part on the American TV. But
yeah. They beeped out like Will Smith saying "fuck."
Yeah.
But again, who gives a shit? Once again, I watched the uncensored clip that was aired in Japan or some other country. It was nothing special. It's like one slap and then Will Smith saying "fuck" twice on TV.
But would it be time to say, keep your fucking Oscar ceremony out of my flick lab?
But this is precisely the reason why we haven't done Oscar coverage before. And now we have, and we noticed can see that it was a horrible mistake and never do this again.
Coda was the best picture overall. And as mentioned, best international picture was Drive My Car. Billie Eilish won the best original piece of music. And yeah, that's all.
Yeah, it's a award ceremony by a bunch of rich people to a bunch of rich people.
Huh.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. So when you get the rich people doing something, well, like, is it a surprise that any type of attempt at, well, being political kind of falls on its face? And at least when it's not like supporting a charity or doing some type of a aid campaign like Sean Penn has been doing, and Leonardo DiCaprio, who has been like going on stage and talking a lot about climate change.
Even the Ukraine part, that little tag that they had on the strict text on the screen teaches that, yes, please help Ukraine in every possible way that you can, something like this. In what way?
and that was more aimed at the audience.
Yeah.
Because, when you watch the gala from your home, that message kind of took the whole screen. So it was not so much aimed at those present at the gala, and it was more aimed at you who are or in your living room, sitting on your couch. And in that light, what it in the end is, it's a bunch of multi-millionaire actors and directors asking the audience, the middle class and the poor, you and me, to help the Ukraine because something community or something. The most important lesson to be learned about the Oscars
Burp.
and about all of this
Punch.
is that these people, they are frauds, every single one of them. And there's like no reason to look up to them.
It's interesting to follow people's reactions, though. Some people are completely over the moon and just can't contain themselves. They keep watering their eyes out on the Dolby Theatre floor, and they need to reconstruct the entire stage because of all that tear. But then there are those people who are like, okay, gee, thanks, bye. So what is the real reaction to receiving an Oscar? Should you be over the moon and crying your heart out, or do the opposite?
It kind of depends on the person. Like, I do believe that to those who get nominated, and especially those who win, the Oscar actually means something. The kind of unofficial history of the Oscars, at least as far as I've been able to ever comprehend it, is that it's a made-up award. Was it in 40s or when the first Oscar ceremony happened? And it very much was like it's an award created by the studios. During that time period, the film studios themselves find out that they are producing all these dramas and what have you, and nobody is going to watch them. So they just kind of created the Oscar ceremony in order to drive up the buzz when it comes to all those not blockbuster Ben-Hur movies that the paying audiences were not going to see naturally wise. And that's why the whole, like the reason why the Oscars exist. But the thing behind the Oscars, or the gimmick behind the Oscars, was that it was and is an award that comes from the industry itself. It's the industry veterans awarding people in the industry, and because of this, it seems at least partly more prominent than other like film awards that get handed out by the critics or some type of artistic board or something like this. Essentially, people who are not working in the industry. This is like Oscars is the case of Steven Spielberg getting the award from the board that has Martin Scorsese in it. And because of that, of course, to the winner of the award, the director, the actor, etc., it might feel more important and more prominent because it comes from some other director. Or it comes like a mass of directors because the Oscar board is like, 200 persons or more. But because of this, it may actually feel like, if you are a director and you're an actor and you win the Oscar, it might feel like a big deal to you. because Steven Spielberg has been putting his vote in that you should win it. And he's a director just like you. But that's about it. Like, when it comes to why I should care, why you should care, why anybody else should care about the Oscars, well, that's a really good question. And mostly I would say that it's just a made-up hype by the industry. Oscars, every single year, they get sold to you like this somehow magical, more prominent event than any other film award event is. It's got the news coverage. It's being streamed in the Finnish TV. It's streamed in all the TV channels. It gets streamed in Japan simply because it's the Oscars. But look past the hype and what actually is there to see. Nothing much really. Lame jokes, pretty boring speeches that you have already heard like a million times, or then it's just a speech that kind of just falls on its face and is more or less just a huge disappointment to you. Like, to harken back to the year when Joker win. Or Joker didn't win, but Joaquin Phoenix won like the best actor, if I remember correctly, for his part in Joker. And to the paying audiences, Joker was like supposed to be this whole point, or at least they made it into a whole point. It became a hugely topical movie, and there was that whole debate about Joker versus Parasite, etc. Should the best picture be handed to Joker, because it talks about all these societal themes, and it's really like defending the poor and the underclass, and this is our one chance to, I don't know, smack against the banks or some shit like that. And then Joaquin Phoenix, your clown prince, finally wins, gets on the stage, has his chance to give that speech, the rallying cry that will arm all of you to rise against the global bank system and take back what's yours, and really make the American dream finally come true, because it hasn't done that for the past 50 years. And then Joaquin Phoenix opens his mouth, and what does he talk about? He's talking about the evils of the dairy industry. How milk is murder or something like that. Like, that's the end moment. It wasn't the I've seen this million times. I wanna thank everybody.
Me too.
Speech. No, it was the other. It was the B road. It was.
But there was
don't drink milk and think about the baby cows.
Don't drink milk. Yeah, go vegan. Go sexy.
Yeah.
Go sexy. Go sexy, sexy love.
Yeah, like, seriously, guys, these people, they are frauds. They are fake.
Yeah.
Christ.
But Henrik, when it was 2020, I believe, when Parasite won, there was a little bit of buzz and fuss around the ceremony because of that. Yeah, that was something that didn't really happen every day, that foreign film would win the best film award and the best foreign film award. And now that you kind of was talking about it, the whole thing, it seems that this could be a way out into the big leagues for the Oscars to even expand further the whole international nominees part. Make it more international. That's because people are watching it all over the world. Why not bring more exposure? Okay, Hollywood is still one of the biggest leading the huge machine that we have, but I think that would be a way to get more viewers and people getting interested in the show again. What else is there? If you're gonna keep up the fake smiles and the shitty jokes, then add this.
I don't know if that saves anything. Like,
Okay.
why should people care if it gets more global?
Yeah.
It still is like fake smiles and shitty jokes.
And that's all we have time for today.
Yeah. God bless the Oscar. Let's never do this again.
I'm crying for this episode. And
Well, you can just get up on stage in that case. Remember to thank the Academy and tell how this is the most important moment in your life.
well, at least you won't need to hear us for the fortnight. We'll be back then.
Until then.
Joo.
No, ainakin saatiin viimein lyhyt jakso aikaiseksi.
Joo, ei tästä tarvitse enempää.
Joo, eiköhän tätä ole väkisin pidennetty tarpeeksi.